As-salamu alaykum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. How are you, children? How are the studies going? Hope that everyone is studying well. Today we are going to study chapter number 20, spreadsheets. Before I move on to the topic, any idea about this term? Which thing strikes your mind when you hear the term spreadsheet? Okay, excellently. Excel, exactly. Now let's learn a few basic things about Excel, or I can say spreadsheet, before we move on to the actual working. The first term is spreadsheet model. What is it? Why do we use it? It's basically used to explore different answers, and these are used for financial, mathematical, or scientific applications or modeling. What is another word that we use for it? It is what if scenario or what if modeling. And what does it mean? In case you change the data in any one cell, what is the impact on the other cells, or what will happen to the final answer? That is what is called what if scenario or what if modeling. What is a spreadsheet? It's basically a two-dimensional table, and this is split into rows and columns. Every single intersection of a row or a column is called a cell, and that is the individual structure that is called a cell. Now let's move on to a few basic terms that you need to know regarding cell. Every cell in the spreadsheet has an address that is a unique value, and that is going to identify the location in the whole sheet. For example, if you look at the diagram, the cell is E9, that is actually a green color boundary. And if you talk about all the cells that have been colored red, or the one that are in yellow color, are basically in column C. And if you look at the values which are present in row number 6, all those are basically blue colored to indicate that they all are present in row number 6. So you can say columns are vertical and rows are horizontal, and the intersection is given the term cell. Sometimes we call spreadsheet a sheet symbol, or sometimes it's called a worksheet also. So if you hear the term sheet or worksheet or spreadsheet, they all are indicating the same thing. When you combine different sheets together, they form a workbook. Just like the real life, when we say a single page, when different pages are combined, they form a book. So similarly, single sheet, present, fine. When you are going to have multiple sheets together, they form a workbook. Each cell in a spreadsheet can hold any one of the following things. The cell can contain a number. It can contain a value, which is a label, and that value can be a text value, including the hyperlinks. Or it contains a formula. And remember, formula always starts with an equals to sign. How do we create a formula? Using references. Now, right now, we have talked about the references like E9, F7, A2. So let's start. How do we do it? The very first thing is you will move your cursor to cell A1. A1 is the very first cell, as you can see. Then in that cell, you will type the label multiplying two numbers. Then you will move your cursor down to cell A2. What will you do? Either you press enter or you press down arrow key. In both these cases, your cursor will move to the new cell, that is A2. You will enter a number, like in this case, it is 1. What you do next is, now you repeat the process for cell A3 and you write down 4. So what happens is, Now what happened is in cell A4, what you did is you entered the formula, and remember, formula always starts with equals to, and you typed A2 multiplied by A3. What happens is, since A2 contains 1 and A3 contains 3, so, A3 contains 4. So A2 into A3 means 4 into 1 will give you the result 4, and that will be displayed in your cell A4. Okay? Now you can see the formula is not visible. Not in the cell. Fine, that's really great, Ali. You are quite smart that you observed that the cell is containing the result, but the formula is not visible. But you can see the formula is written in the formula bar. Very, very, very rightly identified by Ali, that formula bar contains the formula. Now what happens is the changing of the cells to C. But now, for example, if you change the value of A2 from 1 to maybe 2, so definitely the result will be changed, and that result is going to be shown in A4. And this changing of the cells to see the results is called modeling. Very simple example given to make you understand the basic concept of what modeling is. Now, one more thing, very important thing that you need to know is what is the arithmetic operations sequence. Arithmetic operators are placed in formula and can be used to add, subtract, multiply, divide, and calculate indices or powers. Now, definitely they have a symbol. And what are these symbols? You can use plus, the same as we have it in a calculator or in math. Minus for subtraction. For multiplication, we use asterisk. For division, we use slash. And for powers, we use the caret symbol. And you can see this is how you can work on the operators plus, minus, multiply, divide, or indices. Just to make you comprehend, there are two numbers. The first number is entered in B2. Second number is entered in B3. And then we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and indices performed on the two numbers. And you can see addition result is 6 because we added the contents of B2 and B3. Similarly, we performed subtraction. We performed multiplication as well as division, as well as indice, or you can say the power of power 4 that is present in B2. Okay, so this is how we need to remember the operators that are used for performing different operations in Excel. What is the order? Yes, can you have some suggestion? What do you think will be the order of this operation? If you recall from math, it's the same. Now, the order in which we perform the calculations are, we need to know the order of operations, and the rules are very simple, just like the normal math. The first one is your brackets. Second one is your indices, which is powers and roots, and which are sometimes called exponents also. Then we go for division and multiplication. And lastly, we work with addition and subtraction. Now, if this is not the case, then it's simple. Then you have to go from left to right. Always remember that the movement of operation is always from left to right. How do I remember? If you just take the initials, B for bracket, I for indices, D for divide, M for multiply, A for add, S for subtract, then that makes it BEDMAS, and that is written in this manner. Isn't it easy to remember? Isn't it? Okay, that's wonderful. Now moving on to a very important concept that we need to know and apply is cell references. By the way, you have written a formula somewhere in some cell. You want the same formula to be written down, will you keep on typing the same? Is it a good idea? I mean, since we are using a computer, so we are aware that we can use the copy and pasting option. But what happens in Excel, if you have typed a formula in one cell and you perform copy and paste, then what happens is the formula references change. And that should happen definitely. For example, you can see if, for example, you have entered in cell B5 a formula like equals to B2 plus B3. And if you have copied the same formula down to B6, maybe for example, what should happen? Should the reference change or should it still pinpoint to the same? Yes, definitely it should change, because if, for example, assume that you are working on the mark sheet, so definitely if you have copied the formula down to the new cell, so it should now pinpoint to the new student's details. It should not be referring to the first student's numbers. So similarly, the cell references should change. And what will happen is, now if B5 contained equals to B2 plus B3, and we performed the copying and pasting option replication process, then in cell B6, it will now contain equals to B3 plus B4, means B2 is changed to B3 and B3 is changed to B4. That's correct. That should have happened. And this kind of referencing is given the name relative cell referencing, means that the values change when they are replicated. The values do not remain same. The values are supposed to change. On the contrary, we have one more referencing, and that is called absolute referencing. And definitely this is needed in some scenarios, not in all scenarios. And what does it mean actually? When you are replicating the formula or the references are supposed to remain same. They will not change in absolute cell referencing. How do we do it? Very simple. We simply insert a dollar sign with the reference that we want to be fixed. For example, in cell B5, if you change the formula and you said $B$2 plus $B$3. So now if you replicate the formula, then you will observe for yourself that the new cell, for example, cell B6, will still contain equals to $B$2 plus $B$3. Because you wanted these references to be fixed, you do not want them to change. In other words, you have changed the reference from the normal absolute referencing to the from the normal relative referencing to the absolute referencing just by inserting the dollar sign. Now, one more thing. One is absolute, means fixed, that does not change. Second one is relative, which is the default one that changes. And we do have another, by the way, can you observe some change in this formula? Apart from the first one that we talked about with respect to relative, and this case where we are talking about absolute references, is there any change that you can observe in this formula? Yes, Ali, any idea about it, beta? Okay, that's wonderful. You have observed correctly that in this case, you can see that the dollar sign is present with only the first reference, that is equals to $B$2, and the second reference is without the dollar sign. It means that basically this reference is a combination of both. Partly it's relative and partly it is absolute. And this kind of reference is given the name mixed reference. So what will happen if you are going to replicate it? Yes, very absolutely correct. Then definitely $B$2 will remain same, but B3 will change to B4 because it's a mixed reference. And let's move on to a very simple thing that you need to understand only. In case you need to display, and if you observe that when we moved on to the cell, you observe that only the cell was displaying the result, but not the formula. In case you want to display and print the spreadsheet formula, what will you do? Very simple. you have the formulas tab. And in this formulas tab, you'll find the formula auditing section. And in this, you will click on the icon show formulas. And in this manner, if, for example, you have this 2 times table and this generation of 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the way, I hope that you have seen that video that deals with how to generate the numbers automatically. And you can see now, after that, it is generating the 2 times table. How is it done? Now, in this case, you can see for yourself that by default, the formula are not visible. But if you have performed this activity by clicking on formulas tab and in formula editing section, and you have clicked on the show formula icon, then these formulae will become visible. And you can see for yourself that this is basically a combination of relative and absolute. And basically, this is a mixed reference called. This is called a mixed reference. Okay, fine. Any questions? Any problem? May I move ahead? Definitely, you will do it. And then you will be able to understand better. Now, one important thing is named cells and named ranges. For example, we have been talking about that we are going to reference a cell by its name, for example, E5, C9, D6, A32, for example, X99. There's so many cells that are present in your sheet. So definitely, in order to remember that can become a little problematic in some scenarios. So what the option that is given to us is we can give a name to a cell so that it becomes easier for us to remember. It becomes easier for us to access it. But one caution is you should be keeping the name of that cell short and it should be meaningful so that you will also remember what it is for. For example, rather than remembering A45, if I have given the name bat, that will be easier for me to remember. Similarly, instead of giving writing Z23 all the time, I may forget the exact reference. So instead of using this, I can say AVE miles. So this is going to make it easier for me to work on and remember. How do we do it? Just as an example, you want cell B1 to contain the word unit. So what you will do, you will simply right-click with your mouse on the cell and a drop-down menu will appear. And from there, you will choose the option define name. And this define name will open a window like the one that has appeared right now. Okay. What will you do then? You can see in this new name window, there is the first option that is name. And in this name box, you will write down your suggested name, your name for your own self. And when you move your cursor, once you have performed all this activity, you have saved the name after clicking on OK. Now, whenever you move the cursor to cell B1, you can see that the name box that was earlier showing B1 will now be showing the word unit as is visible in this screen. So earlier it was named B1. Now, since you have changed this cell reference, cell address to the word unit, now it will no more be B1. It will be showing you the word unit. Isn't it interesting? Yes, that's wonderful. Jazakallahu khairan Kasira for being a part of the learning journey. Hope that you have liked the video. You have actually learned whatever we have tried to explain you. If you have understood whatever I teach, please like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends and family. And do not forget to click on the bell icon so that you get the latest updates of the new videos as soon as they are uploaded. And do not forget to join the community by clicking on this address that is given to you. Share with your friends so that they all are going to benefit from it. Allah Hafiz.